So you got something to tell me or what?
There's a place in this town where kids learn the wrong things.
Stack of Dimes.
A place where they keep a vicious secret.
Stack of Dimes.
A place controlled by people who profit from pain.
Stack of Dimes.
Now, this town's vicious secret is exposed. There's only one thing to do. Get ready for
Stack of Dimes. Stack of Dimes. Stack of Dimes. Stack of Dimes.
Stack of Dimes. We are the podcast that is barely a podcast. Geez, where to begin? Well, first of all, it is Just Thunder, aka Camaro Kev, and I am joined by
Jimmy.
No.
John.
Jeff, definitely not. No.
Mr. Williamson.
No. But Mr. Pacino's joining me. Let's see where to begin. So, let's see. The last show that we've done was all the way back in May. And a lot of things have happened. Summer's gotten in the way. Lots of things with JD and Roden with kids involved. Various summer activities. But honestly, we got together, I want to say back in June, and we did a podcast with all three of us, rare occasion, in the Roden Family Fun Center. And about an hour and 15 minutes in, Roden's computer froze up. And then over the weekend, just this past weekend, I'm recording this on July 8th, so 4th of July weekend, me and Roden got together, and he cleaned up his PC, made sure that everything was, he thought he ran out of space on it, and did all sorts of, I mean, you should see this laptop that he uses. It looks like, he says it looks like a stealth bomber. It kind of does, but it is massive. And JD pointed it out when we were recording, which was probably not a great thing to do, because the computer was like, oh yeah. The computer was like, in the words of Mr. Pacino here, boy, I'll tell you, this is another thing. So we've been doing this bullshit since 2009. We used to go to one specific site for all of our soundboards, and JD used to be the one to do it. So I barely ever did this crap. Now there's 50 million other soundboards. They've added all sorts of stuff on top of newer Al Pacino stuff on top of old Al Pacino stuff. And look, all I'm trying to do is to find a simple fuck you. A simple fuck you too that we used to be able to find so quickly and so easily on this show. But now this wall of a soundboard that they offer is just fucking ridiculous.
You fucking child.
That'll work. But yeah, the PC must have been like, fuck you. Thanks for making fun of me, pal. And then shit out on us. So we tried to do it again and shit out us and again. And I can't speak right now. And I was just like, well, this isn't in the cards to record this show, apparently. Apparently God doesn't want this out there. No, the show we were going to do was... we're going to talk about Jean-Claude Van Damme. Jean-Claude Van Damme had some problems coming up in the news. I'll just let you Google it. So we were just use that kind of as a catalyst to talk about, maybe don't meet your heroes is basically what it was. So it was me, JD, and Roden. We got about an hour, 20 minutes in. That crapped out. Couldn't save it. Of course, we're, after having done this since 2009, have never decided to record a backup of what we're recording. So, serves us right to bite us in the ass. But then we thought everything was good, and me and Roden decided to just do it ourselves because John was on vacation, and it did the exact same thing. So here I am at my work recording this after I went for a nice little run on the Seattle waterfront. Now, since we've started this show, we've since moved into new studios from where I worked before, and it's a little odd doing the show here. It's kind of a little bit more a pain in the ass for everyone involved to come down here. So that's why JD and I usually do it in some sort of phone functionality, some sort of remote connection. And I think we might have to be doing that with Roden here soon. But honestly, I'm shocked that this thing is able to go. And the thought of sitting here recording this crap like right now, like I'm doing by myself, is not great.
No.
It's weird. I like having someone to talk with, but I guess I'm just talking to you. So, and catching you up on the things that are going down. So I've actually done this before. I did 2 episodes in the past, way back when, April 6th, 2012 and March 29th, 2012. And I called it SOD Presents Thunder's Dome. I did 2 episodes of Thunder's Dome. Same sort of deal. JD wasn't available and Roden wasn't available, and so I did my own show. And I don't know. I'm sure they're about as listenable as this piece of shit that I'm doing right now. So yeah, I don't know. We're trying with this thing, but it gets harder and harder. Pushing 50 and doing it since 2009. So, anyways, at the very least, I figured I'd get on here and let you guys all know what the hell's been going on, and get through a couple of emails that we've had come through here. Let's see. One email, Dr. Thunder, by listener Guy Harder. I'm sure that's his full Christian name. He says, hey, guys, I was in Walmart yesterday and came upon this soda I've never seen before. And P.S., by the way, I apologize if I have read some of these emails before. Sometimes we go back and Roden pointed out, hey, we should probably, mark these as having been read or like as on air. So I apologize if you're hearing this one again, but here we go. I was at Walmart yesterday and came upon this soda that I've never seen before, and it reminded me of you, Thunder. Kind of a poor man's Dr. Pepper. It's pretty good, though. I don't drink a lot of soda, but this is a nice treat. Yes, it is, sir. Also, I'd like to remind you that you mentioned doing another movie soundtrack episode with lyrics, and I've been patiently waiting for it for about 3 years now. I hope you still plan to do it eventually. Well, there's a lot of checks that we like to write on this show that our asses can never cash. So, but we went through this email when me and Roden recorded over the weekend, and he was like, you know what? That's a great idea. We should probably do that again. I think the episode that we did was a You Blew It, and it was just basically about our favorite soundtrack music. And then we threw out the idea of possibly doing one with songs with lyrics or to break down the lyrics. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, you know what, Guy, we're going to get on that really quickly here. So, yeah. I've been patiently waiting for it for about 3 years. I hope it's still in the plan to do eventually. Well, thanks for doing what you do. I'm looking forward to finishing the Cruisin' You Blew It episode. I want to watch the movie again so it's fresh before I do. Yeah. I would suggest you all go watch Cruising. Boy. And that was back in May. That's right. That was the last show we did. So, hopefully we'll get around to doing that episode here too at some point, Guy. As far as Dr. Thunder, so it is funny. So the stupid nickname that I have, our good friend Newman, who is also a friend of the show and had been on the show a couple of times, R.I.P., passed away a few years back. He was the one that came up with Thunder, and I think it had to do kind of with Dr. Thunder. In high school, you always find things that you just things that stick out when you start to realize the weird things in this world, like imitation products or store cheap, what would you call it, value brands. And we didn't have Walmart around here growing up in the 80s and 90s, and it eventually showed up. And I want to say that Newman went on like a vacation somewhere, and his family had a Walmart, whoever he was visiting. And you know how it is. We've talked about this before. When, at least in the 80s, when you were a kid, you'd go camping. one of the parents would go and buy like a gross of the cheapest soda that they could find, and they would load up a cooler for the kids. There'd be the adult cooler and there'd be the kids cooler. And I don't blame them, man. Go buy a flat of Craigmont products from Safeway, I believe. That was the thing back in the day. Or Select products it turned into. But back in the day, it was Craigmont soda. And it was same deal as this, whatever this value brand is at Walmart. And I remember, and Dr. Thunder, they got wise to this eventually, right? Dr. Thunder, you knew it in the title as, oh, this is a Dr. Pepper ripoff. Dr. Pepper, Mr. Pibb, effectively the same thing, kind of a, what would you call that flavor? A cola with black cherry or a cherry note in it would be the way I would describe it. Because it's not like a sarsaparilla or a root beer, but it's kind of a mix of all of them is what I would put it at. One of those caramel colored fizzy beverages. I throw your sarsaparillas, your root beers, your colas, your Dr. Peppers, obviously eventually Mr. Pibb. But of the one that everyone knows, it's Dr. Pepper's the name brand. So, but I do remember as a kid getting, I think it was Craigmont, they called theirs Skipper. So their Dr. Pepper tasting wannabe soda was called Skipper. They got wise to it, and I think eventually down the road they called it Dr. Skipper. So, yes, very much aware of Dr. Thunder because Newman said, holy shit, dude, I saw this thing called Dr. Thunder. It's from Walmart. It's a ripoff of Dr. Pepper. And he started using Thunder as just kind of a fun word to throw in there. We had somebody, and I don't know where this came from, but he called someone Thunderface once, and we thought that was really pretty fucking funny. And I started using it, or we started using it as a name when we do karaoke. So I started using it kind of as a joke. And then, when they call me up, it'd be Thunder, It was kind of fun, whatever, immature, stupid. And then when we started this show, I was so afraid of my work firing me that I want to use my real name. So I used my karaoke name, Thunder, which then became Camaro Kev because like any good nickname, your nickname is given, not chosen. And Luke's wife at the time, to keep Luke's Kevin, I think he had another Kevin in his life, to keep them straight, she would call me Camaro Kev to differentiate me from the other Kev, the other Kevin. So, yeah, Dr. Thunder. Have not seen one in a while. Again, still in Seattle. Not Walmart's. The closest one is like 20 minutes north of here, I think. So, don't get out to the old Walmart all that much. But, Guy, thanks for dropping a line. We'll get right on that show. Me and Roden will get up. But clearly, the way we churn these fucking shows out, we've got it down to an art and a science now. So that will be coming really soon. What else? This is from listener Charles. 3D TVs could be about to make a big comeback. Here's how. And he has a link to something called tomsguide.com. Now, if you're not familiar, another friend of the show, Mike, my coworker, we've done a couple of episodes of 3D Never Die, I think is what we called that, where my obsession with 3D television and 3D movies, we would talk about that, and we haven't done one in a while because there's not a whole lot of 3D news. There's no more 3D TVs aren't being made anymore. 3D movies are still available in the theaters. They're not doing so hot. Case in point, I think Superman starts this weekend, and if you go in to your Fandango app right now, you'll probably see that there are several 3D options available in your town, city, or wherever you're at. And then check it again next weekend, and you'll notice that there are going to be less 3D showings. And then even if you wait, even the weekend after that or the week after that, you're going to find maybe one or two that are only happening during the day when most people are working. So 3D continues to die here in the States, but I do enjoy that Charles sent this out to me. and I did go through the article. It says something about Samsung's Odyssey 3D monitor. This is that glass. You don't have to wear glasses. It's glassesless 3D. So I don't know a whole lot about it, but it looks like it's more about being a monitor. And I know that they've been talking about trying to do glassesless 3D for a while now. And I'll believe it when I see it. I just don't think there's a demand for this stuff, just knuckleheads like me. It's a very small group of people that are 3D enthusiasts. But I do thank you for sending this out, and thank you for thinking of us. That was very nice of you. I will not be buying a 3D computer monitor. In fact, does anybody buy computer monitors anymore? I don't know. Okay, what else? Oh, this was a good one. This is listener Kate. Good morning. Just listened to the latest episode and Thunder mentioned kickboxing. Ione Sky has a new, and I had to look up Ione Sky, by the way, has a new memoir out, which I'm reading, which made me want to rewatch Say Anything. Great movie. I had forgotten that Lloyd Dobler is into kickboxing in that movie, training with Dawn and Dragon Wilson, and I wondered if kickboxing was a Seattle phenomenon for teenage boys at that time, because growing up in the South with a brother, I do not at all recall it being a popular sport. Anyways, still love you guys and always and forever. Thanks for continuing to make the podcast. Thank you, Kate. No, as far as I know, it wasn't a big deal here in Seattle. And the funny thing is when I started, it was me and JD and another friend of ours in high school. I think it was sophomore year of high school, I think it was sophomore year. So that would be 93-ish for us that we started kickboxing. And it was funny when I would mention to people that I was doing kickboxing, certain people of a certain age would say, "Oh, kickboxing, sport of the future," which is a quote, I believe, from Say Anything. Now, at this point in my life, I had not seen Say Anything. I believe that JD had. But no, I was just kind of a goofy weirdo. And as I mentioned at the start of the show, I was obsessed with Jean-Claude Van Damme. And we've talked about this a ton on the show. And, early on when we started this podcast, we were, let's talk about Van Damme movies and straight to video martial arts movies. I was obsessed with that shit. I would get Black Belt Magazine, Inside Kung Fu, all that stuff. And started hanging around with JD, and JD was like, "Oh, yeah, I like that Van Damme guy." And we'd rent these shitty movies and watch them and all this stuff. Well, just people around me in school knew how much of a Van Damme dork I was. And he did the movie Kickboxer. And I remember watching late night. We had this station here on basic cable or whatever it was back in the day. We had ESPN, but then we had another regional sports network. It was called Prime Sports, Prime Ticket or something like that. And they would have filler programming, and it would be kickboxing they'd have on late at night. And I remember watching it with my dad and being like, holy shit, like they have this? You can kick people and not just punch people? That's pretty cool. And then when Van Damme movies started coming out, and then he did the movie Kickboxer, I was obsessed. And I remembered watching kickboxing like in the late 80s with my dad, and I thought, that's really cool. And I became obsessed with it. People at school knew I was obsessed with it. And then one day, somebody was like, "Hey, are you going to go watch this kickboxing happening in Everett?" We grew up in Lake Stevens. Everett's like the biggest city. It's like 40 minutes north of Seattle, 40 minutes north of Seattle. And about 15 minutes, Lake Stevens about 10, 15 minutes east of Everett. So now keep in mind back then too, kickboxing was like a catch-all term because there was an infomercial with Billy Blanks, who was doing like his trademarked Tybo, which was like kickboxer size, I guess how you'd explain it, where it was like, people would line up and do it to music, and he would do all sorts of different kicks and moves and whatnot. So when you bring up kickboxing back in the day, a lot of the gyms that didn't have a Tybo, that didn't want to pay the licensing fee for Tybo would have like kickboxer size or just kickboxing. Would be like more fitness kickboxing. So it kind of muddied the water as far as what kickboxing was. So you'd get a lot of people, if you'd say, hey, I'm kickboxing, it's like, oh yeah, my wife does that up at, 24-hour fitness. You're like, yeah, no, it's not the same thing, but okay, whatever. But people at the time, they were like, hey, there's kickboxing coming to Everett. And I thought, yeah, sure there is. It'll be some sort of stupid dance competition they're calling kickboxing. But I ended up calling around to this hotel that had this event. Sure enough, it was kickboxing, and it was the WKA, the World Kickboxing Association, doing amateur fights. And so I was like, holy shit, this is really happening. And so I, got me and Blaine Beecham got tickets. We went out and watched this. My dad dropped us off, and we watched these fights. And then they had an intermission, and they had a table of people like kind of selling T-shirts and whatnot. And one of the people working one of the tables was the WKA heavyweight world champion at the time, Maurice Smith, who is mentioned in Say Anything. I think again, I haven't seen this movie that much, but when he mentions like, hey, kickboxing sport of the future, and I think he throws out Don the Dragon Wilson, and he throws out Maurice Smith, and maybe a couple other names. And I knew Maurice from, he had a couple straight to video movies. He had one with Don the Dragon Wilson, Blood Fist 2. And I was like, holy shit, you're Maurice Smith. He goes like, yeah, yes, I am. And I said, what are you doing here? He said, well, I grew up in Seattle. I live here. I grew up in Seattle. I said, I didn't know that. And he's like, yeah, I got a gym in Edmonds that I train at, AMC Kickboxing. You should come down sometime. So I told JD, and JD's like, we got to go down. So we go down there, and it's totally cool. The trainer's like, you should sign up. So me and JD signed up, and we started doing it, just to keep fit and not have to deal with the political bullshit that happens in high school sports. And plus, it's a thing. At the time, I thought, well, I can keep doing this. I don't know, until my body allows it. But a lot of the crap that you do in high school, like wrestling or something, because I was a wrestler in junior high, you can't really keep doing that unless you're really good and you go into like the Olympics or go to do it in college or something. So it's like, oh, this will be kind of fun. We'll see how long this lasts. I was just at the gym last night at AMC Kickboxing. Started in 93, so you do the math on that. So I was there last night. Started at the age 16, and here I am at 48, still doing it. My body's still allowing it. But to answer your question, a very long-winded answer, no. As far as I know, no one was obsessed with it in Seattle. And it is a weird thing that Say Anything that takes place in Seattle has like kickboxing playing a big part of it. And there's also a movie, one of Van Damme's early movies called No Retreat, No Surrender, that takes place and this came out in like 86, 85. It takes place in Seattle as well. And they hold, at the end of it, they hold like kind of like a kickboxing / it's kickboxing. They hold a kickboxing match, and it's like a Seattle team taking on like an LA team that's trying to take over. But no, I was just, me and JD were kind of one-off dorks. And to keep this in, to give you an idea of the landscape, the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championship, wasn't even a thing at the time. It didn't exist. So typically the kind of martial arts places we had here in Seattle would be Kung Fu, because Bruce Lee lived here for part of his life and had a gym here where he trained people in the 60s. So Kung Fu was still very big in the Seattle area at that time, and then like Taekwondo and karate. But I didn't want to do any traditional martial arts. I wanted to do what I had seen on TV and what I saw Van Damme do in his movies. I wanted to do kickboxing in it. I could not find, there was just like back then, there was no kickboxing gyms. There were always usually karate or Taekwondo or whatever. And it just was an odd, weird thing that Maurice Smith, the current champion at the time, who lived in Seattle, had a gym, and that's how it started for us. So no, I really should watch that movie though. I haven't seen it in a while. I like myself some, what's his name? The director. Jesus, he did Singles and Almost Famous. What is his goddamn name? Cameron Crowe. I've never looked up the reason why Cameron Crowe put kickboxing in the movie. I think it may have had something to do with I think John Cusack was training like in real life in kickboxing, and maybe he just wanted to, maybe he had some influence. I don't know. I'd have to look that up. Had some sort of influence with Cameron Crowe as to make him be a kickboxer. So anyways, okay, well, that's that. Now that I've bored you all to tears, but that's the update. Look, I hope we can get in and record more often. It's just getting really difficult, and with the summer the way it is, I mean, fuck, it's so goddamn busy. I'm busy. We're all busy. So, but, you know, we're going to keep trying to do this, and I do really appreciate all the people that still listen and still reach out to us. If you want to drop us a line, you can do so at sod.podcast@gmail.com. I think you could just send it to sodpodcast@gmail.com as well. And we still have a call-in line. I was just looking at that in these emails because our line continues. They threaten us every year to pull it because it's a Google Voice line. They continue to say, hey, if you don't use this, we're going to take it. So, but if you'd like to call and leave us a voicemail, and we will be warned if you do, we'll probably use it on the show. Our phone number is 206-395-5763, 206-395-5763. Hey, thanks for sticking with us. God bless. One thing that you should always remember as I sign off here, just remember this.
All train compartments smell vaguely of shit.